Welcome, folks. Today we are discussing Judith Butler's work, specifically excerpts from her book, Gender Trouble, focusing on the complex relationship between sex, gender, and the subject of feminism.
I'm eager to delve into this. Butler challenges some fundamental assumptions within feminism, doesn't she? What's the core of her argument?
Exactly. Butler questions the very foundation of feminist politics, which often relies on the concept of women as a unified, stable subject. She argues that this notion of a universal woman is problematic because it's constructed, not inherent. It's a product of power structures, not a pre-existing reality.
So she's saying that woman isn't a biological fact, but a social construct? How does that work?
Yes, precisely. Butler draws on Simone de Beauvoir's famous quote, "One is not born, but rather becomes a woman." She emphasizes that gender isn't simply a reflection of biological sex. Instead, it's a performance, a set of repeated acts and behaviors that create the illusion of a stable identity. The idea of a fixed sex itself is also challenged as a political category that underpins the heterosexual structure of society.
Interesting. But if woman is a construct, how can feminism advocate for women's rights? Doesn't that undermine the whole project?
That's a crucial point. And it's where Butler's critique gets really nuanced. She's not saying feminism is pointless. Instead, she's arguing that we need to rethink the way we approach feminist politics. The traditional focus on achieving representation for a pre-existing category of women might actually reinforce the very power structures feminism seeks to dismantle. The very act of defining woman can exclude those who don't fit the mold.
I see. So instead of fighting for the rights of a predefined group, we should focus on challenging the systems that create these categories in the first place?
Exactly. Butler suggests that feminism needs to move beyond identity politics, which often relies on fixed categories of identity. She advocates for a more fluid and inclusive approach that acknowledges the multiplicity of gender identities and experiences. This involves a critical examination of how power structures produce and regulate gender, rather than simply aiming for better representation within those structures.
But isn't there a risk of losing a sense of shared identity and solidarity among women if we abandon the concept of a universal woman? How do we build a movement without a common ground?
That's a valid concern, and it's a point of ongoing debate within feminist theory. Butler acknowledges the importance of solidarity, but argues that it shouldn't be based on a false sense of shared identity. Instead, solidarity can emerge from shared experiences of oppression and a commitment to challenging the systems that perpetuate inequality, regardless of individual gender identities. The focus shifts from a shared identity to shared goals.
So the emphasis is on dismantling oppressive systems rather than representing a pre-existing group?
Precisely. Butler's work encourages a more critical and nuanced understanding of gender and its relationship to power. It challenges us to move beyond simplistic notions of identity and to consider the complex ways in which gender is constructed and performed. It's a call for a more inclusive and effective feminism that addresses the root causes of inequality, rather than simply aiming for better representation within existing structures.
This is a really thought-provoking perspective. It seems to suggest that the very act of defining woman can be a form of oppression.
Absolutely. By attempting to define and represent a universal woman, feminism risks reinforcing the very power structures it seeks to challenge. Butler's work encourages a more critical self-reflection within feminism, urging us to examine the ways in which our own categories and assumptions might perpetuate inequality.
It's a complex argument, but a vital one for understanding the evolution of feminist thought. Thank you for clarifying this.
You're welcome. It's a conversation that continues to evolve, and Butler's work remains a crucial contribution to that ongoing dialogue. Thanks for listening, everyone. Until next time.